Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Premier League predictions. The Premier League fixtures are back this weekend, Sophie, after the international break, and we've got so many games coming. We've also got Premier League games in midweek, so do join us for that. How are you?
Yeah, very well. I just can't get enough of the games.
Honestly, there is so much to play for in the Premier League right now.
No, it's so tight as well. That's why I love it. It's not like one horse race. There's quite a few teams in this.
There's 3 teams fighting for the title. There's a couple teams fighting for 4th place. There's a fight for 6th and 7th. There's
the relegation
battle, which is mental. And even in the middle, so many teams are separated by very few points. So there's a lot to get into. Let's just quickly remind people of the scores. You did beat me by 1 point last time, so you're 6 points ahead in the Premier League predictions. I've got a bit of catching up to do. The season's starting to come to a close. Can I do it? Let's hope I can. The final thing to do before we get into the predictions is make sure you have hit the like button. It's free to do. Please make sure to drop a like. We'll go for 2,000 likes. It takes 2 seconds. I can see you there, not clicking the like button. It's free to do, so what they got to do?
Hit that like button.
And
subscribe.
Hit the subscribe button. I can see you there not subscribing, some of you, so make sure to subscribe as well. Right, with all of that said, let's get into the prediction, Sophie, and we're going to kick-start it at St James's Park. Newcastle United versus West Ham United. Now, this is not an easy one to separate, and could be quite a bit riding on this. When you look at the middle of the table, the teams sort of fighting for 6th and 7th. Newcastle and West Ham, there's not a lot between them. I've said in the previous video that I could see West Ham possibly dropping a few points in the final run here because they've got the Europa League to contend with as well, where they take on Bayer Leverkusen, which will be a tricky game, but I think West Ham have a good chance. They take on Newcastle, Sophie, who can put all their focus into the Premier League. They're now out of the FA Cup and obviously they're out of Europe. However, with a 2-week break for both, they can both come into this kind of like 100% really.
Yeah.
And I make Newcastle slight favourites, but I'm actually going to say West Ham get a draw.
Yeah, I was really tempted to say a draw. I was tempted to go for a Desmond.
Well, I'm going to start it with a 1-1.
Okay, I have changed my mind, and purely because they're the home side, I'm going to lean towards them. I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle, but I do see it being a very tight game.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to separate them. But that's why they're so close in the table as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Share your thoughts, guys, on Newcastle versus West Ham. Difficult one.
It is.
On to the next one, Sophie. Down to the south coast we go. It's AFC Bournemouth versus Everton. Bournemouth are a tricky one. We haven't seen them for a few weeks now. The last time they did play, it was that bonkers game against Luton, which they were 3-0 down at half-time and they won 4-3. They deserve massive plaudits for that. And for the season as a whole, they're definitely not going down. They're going to finish just outside of mid-table, just on the edges of it, which is really impressive when you think, you know...
Budget, size, everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. So credit to Bournemouth. One thing I will say, though, is I don't think they've been as good in the second half of the season.
Agree.
I'm being a little bit picky there. But seeing as they're playing Everton, that might give Everton a glimmer of hope. Now, Everton haven't won in 10 games. It's been 5 draws and 5 defeats. So I could see this being a draw. I could see it being a close game. But I'm actually going to say Everton are going to win.
What?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
A little bit of a surprise, but I don't know. I think if on the faces of it, who's got more to play for here? Everton. I reckon Sean Dyche will pull off a masterclass here. Bournemouth 1, Everton 2.
Oh, I thought you were actually going to go the other way.
No.
Usually I back Bournemouth. I backed them against Luton, and thankfully they turned it around and got me a point. But for this one, I see a draw playing out. Yeah, I am struggling to separate the two. I don't see Everton winning, to be honest. But if I was to pick a winner, it'd probably be Bournemouth. But I'm not. I'm going to sit on the fence and say 1-1.
Suit yourself. Suit yourself. I think it'd be a good game. I don't think it'd be particularly straightforward for Bournemouth.
No.
And I just, on the face of it, think Everton need to win, really, or get something. Yeah, I suppose a draw wouldn't be a terrible result. On to the next one. Let's go to Stamford Bridge, Sophie. It's Chelsea versus Burnley. Let's start with Burnley, Sophie. 4 points in the last 2 games. A little sign of improvement and possibly not too late just yet.
It is too late.
No, because Forest have just been hit with a points deduction. So
they're appealing it, though, aren't they?
That's not to say they'll definitely get anything back. Burnley are only about 5 points away from safety. So if they win their next game, they're 2 points away. And they play Forest on the final day.
Yeah, that could be a massive game.
They're at home for that game. I'm trying to make it more interesting here, Sophie.
Okay.
Burnley, yes, they've been pretty poor this season, but I'm trying to say they're not done just yet. It looks like they are, but maybe they're not. If they can continue to churn out better performances and better results, they might have a chance. That said, Going away to Chelsea, I do make Chelsea favourites.
Yeah.
Chelsea, while they've not been perfect this season, Sophie, I just think they'll outscore Burnley. Good result against Leicester in the FA Cup before the international break. Let's go Chelsea 3, Burnley 1.
Oh, I thought we were going to go for the same then. I'm saying Chelsea 3-0.
Oh.
Just because, as we say, week in, week out, Burnley play very open football, and Chelsea, they get loads of chances. The issue is they don't take all of them. Possibly would drop Sterling for this one because he's not been in the best of form. However, this game could be good for his confidence, to be honest. But for me, I can't see anything other than a Chelsea win, and I think it's going to be quite convincing. 3-0.
3-0. That is convincing, bloody hell. Okay, right, on to the next one, Sophie. Massive game, this one. Let's go to the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest versus Crystal Palace. Now, when we spoke about the Premier League relegation battle, we've obviously mentioned that Forest are right in the thick of it. They have been deducted 4 points, but the latest thing, Sophie, is they are appealing it.
Yes.
Just as you mentioned a minute or two ago, they could get a point or two added back on. There is also a possibility they could get something taken away, but I think they've already said that's very unlikely.
Very unlikely, yeah.
So I think 4 points is the worst case scenario. I think it gives the Nottingham Forest fans some closure. It kind of wraps this little saga up for a while. You'd rather just know what it is than be waiting thinking, is it this, is it that? And as for Crystal Palace, Sophie, they're not safe yet. I think they probably will be. But if they lose this game and lose to Bournemouth next week, they've then got Liverpool and Man City, and they've not even hit 30 points yet. So I think you at least need to get to 30 to have a chance of staying up this season. But I'm going to go for Forest, Sophie. I think while they've not won many games recently, and maybe Nuno's not had the desired effect Nottingham Forest fans probably would have wanted, I think they're capable at the City Ground of turning up. And the fans behind them, Sophie, they've got to be rallying behind them. We need to stay in the Premier League. We can do this. It's a winnable game, and I'm going to say they'll do it. 2-1 Forest.
Yeah, it is a winnable game. However, I actually see a draw playing out. I can see there being a few goals, though. I think it might be a Desmond. I'm going to go 2-2. I just think both teams have a lot to fight for. Forest being the home side, really, they probably are going to be the favourites, but I'm just struggling to separate them. So, an entertaining 2-2.
Yeah, Palace have got some really good individuals that can produce little bits of magic.
It's just when they turn up in a game, they'll get something from it.
Yeah, and with this fixture, I don't think Forest have lost to Palace since they've been back in the Premier League. So I think they might win. You're going for a draw. On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to Bramall Lane, where it is Sheffield United versus Fulham. Sheffield United, Sophie, still bottom. They have maybe been given a little lifeline by Forest getting a points deduction, but they've got so much to do to have any chance of getting out of this. And although I've been one of the people that's tried to stick up for Sheffield United this season by trying to back them to get results, saying they're not out of it yet, I think I've got to let it go.
Yeah, just let it go at this time.
And they take on Fulham, Sophie, who won 3-0 against Spurs.
Yeah, that was a great result. I didn't see them winning, let alone that convincingly.
Yeah, brilliant result for Fulham. And I suppose it's not impossible with Sheffield United being at home, they could get something. But I am going to go for a Fulham win. The question is, do I think it'd be one of those tight games that Fulham just pinch, or will Sheffield United get destroyed about 6-0 again?
I know.
I'll go for a close game. Let's not completely mug Sheffield United's fans off. Sheffield United 1, Fulham 2.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to say the same. I'm torn because they've just beat Tottenham, who are, well, I say just, like before the international break, they beat Tottenham, who are a much better team. They've got much better quality. And they beat them 3-0. So they could really, really pan Sheffield United here. But I actually see it being a closer game. So I'm going to say 2-1 as well.
Yeah, both going for Fulham to win that one narrowly. Share your thoughts on Sheffield United versus Fulham in the comments, guys. Next up, interesting. It's Tottenham Hotspur versus Luton Town. Really different styles of play. Both been quite exciting to watch at times.
Yeah.
Both very unpredictable. Tottenham very streaky, very good on their day, but I mean, what happened against Fulham? They were terrible.
Yeah.
But, you know, they beat Villa 4-0 only a week before that.
Yeah, weird.
So what are you going to get here with Tottenham Hotspur? They come into this as favourites, of course. Luton Town are above the bottom three now due to Forest points deduction. But Luton Town have got Spurs away, Arsenal away and Man City away as their next 3 away games. Yeah. If they could snatch a draw here, that'd be amazing. I think Luton can make this close. I think they're going to get a goal.
I think they will.
I think Spurs are going to pinch it, just the quality. I'm going to go 2-1.
Yeah, for Luton, their goal scoring hasn't been an issue at all. They've been putting away a few goals, but really, when you're 3-0 up at half time, you can't afford to then go on to lose the game when you're in that kind of precarious situation down at the bottom. So I see there being a few goals in this one, because both teams are capable of scoring and conceding. So it's going to be an entertaining one. 3-2 Spurs.
Oh, that sounds like a good game. Share your thoughts on that one, guys. Tottenham Luton. Wouldn't it be great if Luton could pinch something?
Oh, I'd love that for them.
Yeah, but I do like Spurs as well, and I suppose, it'd be great to see them get top 4. On to the next game then, Sophie. It's a team that are fighting for the top 4 as well, Aston Villa, and they take on Wolves, West Midlands derby here, Sophie. Now, obviously, before the international break, Wolves lost to Coventry. What can you do?
It's Coventry, you don't stand a chance.
It was always going to be a tricky game on paper. No, in all seriousness, Wolves have been missing some players.
They've got a lot of injuries. Yeah,
we will let them off. As for Aston Villa, they didn't win before the international break. They got a 1-1 draw at West Ham, which is okay.
It's okay, yeah.
It's all right. But the top 4 race is still neck and neck, so they need to win this game. I think Wolves get a goal and they give it a go, but I think I'm going to go for the same score I went for just the last game with the Tottenham-Luton game. Villa, the home team, to win 2-1.
Okay, I'm going to say 2-0, which I think for Villa right now, a clean sheet would do them the world of good. The only reason why I'm saying that right now is because we've just seen Wolves, and as much as they do have some quality there, they are missing some key players, and you can see that in the squad. So right now, because of that, it's meaning that I'm going to back Villa 2-0.
2-0. Yeah. And Aston Villa's next game is actually away to Manchester City, so they need to win this game. Otherwise, Spurs will probably jump into the top 4. On to the next one, Sophie. Oh, this one's really difficult. Brentford versus Manchester United. Now, it was about 2 years ago, Brentford smashed Man United 4-0.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game? I don't think it'll be 4-0 to Brentford here, but I don't know. I mean, it's so hard with Manchester United. I'd almost go as far as to say they're probably one of the hardest teams to predict in the Prem.
Yeah.
Now, if they turn up, they're a very good team. What a win against Liverpool.
Yeah, that was insane.
They deserved it. They played really, really well, and the tactics were really good. They just went for it. They attacked. And that's what they need to do, because they've got good attacking players. They need to attack teams instead of, prancing around with a 0-0 and trying to pinch it by 1 goal. Yeah. Brentford are good. They're in a relegation battle, I suppose, but I feel like they'll get out of it, but it's not a given. Ivan Toney should get the goals to keep them up, and I reckon he gets a couple goals here, but Manchester United to outscore them. Let's go Brentford 2, Man United 3.
Oh, okay, I'm going fairly similar. I'm saying 3-1 Man United. I think the Man United that turned up against Liverpool, every single player on that pitch put a shift in. I know there was a lot of rotation. I think Fernandes started playing centre-back at one point and Maguire striker, and it worked. So when they really want it, that team can do it. Are they going to have that same feeling against Brentford in the league? Possibly not, but I do still feel like they've got the quality. So 3-1. 3-1
Manchester United. Yeah. Big game. Not impossible. They could still make the top 4. I suppose they're probably mainly just trying to stay in the top 6.
Yeah.
They've also got an FA Cup semi-final coming up, which won't be straightforward.
That's going to be really hard for them, to be fair. We wish them luck.
On to the next game, Sophie. Let's go to Anfield. It's Liverpool versus Brighton. Now, the next game we're going to come on to is Manchester City versus Arsenal, which is massive.
Yeah.
What we do know then, in this game, where it's Liverpool v Brighton, is Liverpool need to win. 100%. They cannot afford any dropped points here.
No.
I said in my most recent video that I'm going to go with Liverpool to win the league right now.
So you need to keep backing them then.
But the margins are that close that if they draw this game, my opinion will change.
Yeah.
My opinion will change. You have to win this game.
Yeah.
Brighton are not a bad team. They're a good team, but they're a bit of an inconsistent team. So it depends what Brighton turns up here. I think Liverpool are going to win. They have got good players returning soon. The likes of Trent, Alisson, Jota at some point. They're all going to start feeding back into this team as the final run-in commences. And yeah, I'm going to go for Liverpool 3-1. I'm standing by them winning the league. They have to win this game though.
Yeah.
3-1.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit closer actually. I'm going to say Liverpool 2-1. Be typical Liverpool to actually go 1-0 down and turn it around. But as you say, they can't afford to drop points. But I see it being a fairly close one, but they've got the quality to get it over the line. So 2-1 for me.
Oh, it's
It'd be too close, yeah.
It's a big game. Speaking of big games, Sophie, let's move on to the final one. Manchester City versus Arsenal. Wow, this is huge. Now, just before the international break, in fact, just before the FA Cup weekend, we had Liverpool v Man City finishing in a draw. It was kind of like we asked the question, who's going to win the Premier League? And the answer was inconclusive. That result was actually the best for Arsenal, who have gone top of the league with that and come here top of the league. But it's a difficult one. If you go away to Man City and you're Arsenal and you're ahead of Man City, a draw is really good for Arsenal. The thing is, Liverpool, if they beat Brighton, which we've predicted them to do, will go past Arsenal if Arsenal draw. So it's a difficult one here, Sophie. Do Arsenal go for the win, which keeps things in their hands, or do they think a draw is good enough, but we will have to rely on Liverpool slipping up somewhere?
I think Arteta will go for it.
The thing is, Man City need to go for it. A draw is no good for Man City. Man City need to win. It's a difficult one, weighing up the possibilities here. Now, Manchester City and Arsenal faced off twice last season, and although Arsenal were leading the title race, Man City handed it to them on both occasions. This time round, I think Arsenal have improved. Even though they were really good last year, I think Arsenal have got better. And they did beat Man City at the Emirates. It's just a more tricky one going away to the Etihad. And in the final stretch of the season, Man City are almost unstoppable. De Bruyne, Haaland, all the best players are fit, and they just go for it. They're probably going to win every game after this one, in my opinion. I think Arsenal could get something, and I don't want to go against them, but my head and experience is telling me Manchester City will just find a way. I'm going to say 2-1. I think it'll be really, really close. And as I say, Arsenal have improved so much over the last year. And I still think they will over the next year as well, if they stick with Arteta and the recruitment and everything they've got going on. But Man City under Pep, they are just the best, aren't they, really? 2-1 Man City.
Okay. Yeah, I can see why you're going for that, especially because they're the home side. I don't think there's going to be much separating the two here. I'm really struggling. I can see there being a few goals, to be honest. I think it could be quite open, like both teams going for it. If I'm going to say a draw, I'm going to sit on the fence. 2-2.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good result for Arsenal and a very good result for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, the thing is, for Man City, they've drawn with Liverpool. If they draw with Arsenal, that's
not great.
It's not great in the two. Oh, share your thoughts, guys, because that wraps up a very, very big game and our 10 predictions for this week. Massive games this week, especially at the top and down at the bottom as well. Share your predictions down in the comments, guys, because that wraps up our predictions. Make sure to drop a like as we go for 2,000 likes on this one. It's free to like, so make sure to do so. And make sure to subscribe. It's free to do that. And we're pushing towards 61,000 subscribers now. Thank you for your support, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you at the weekend for more predictions for the start of next week. Peace out.